Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we talk about my top 3 choices for the most horrible things to encounter during space travel in 40K. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content just like this every single day. We love to talk about lore, so please subscribe to the channel. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you guys would like us to create a video for, comment down below. But with that said, let's get into my top 3 choices for the worst things to encounter in space. Man has been able to spread across the vastness of the Milky Way galaxy, establishing itself as one of the most powerful races amongst the vastness of space. In order to maintain their prowess in the galaxy, the Imperium of Man requires unity amongst its many worlds. Interstellar travel between the worlds of the Imperium is rare and dangerous. The vast majority of civilians will never know the roaring tediums of the shuttle flight, the sickening plummet of a drop pod, or the unnerving silence of deep space. Given the huge size of the Imperium, it is impossible to cross it in the fleeting span of time given to ordinary men. Colonists, pilgrims, and refugees spend many generations in the vastness of space, and many starships never survive the horrible realities of travel to reach their destination. Excluding the various threats that come with warp travel, the journey between planets or closely neighboring star systems is riddled with dangers only the bravest and well-prepared could face and come out of it alive. One of these such threats is what travelers call the Void Kraken. A Void Kraken is a legendary space monster of giant size that is said to hunt and destroy spacefaring ships all over the Milky Way galaxy. To encounter this creature in the void is like encountering death itself. Very few ships have been able to escape its grasp. The physiology and nature of the Void Kraken are largely unknown, even to the most well-traveled explorers of the Coronus Expanse. This is doubtless the result of their rarity and difficulty to hunt and detect, but could also be that they represent more than a singular species of void behemoth. Several variations on the beast mistakenly considered a single race of creatures. Whatever the truth of the Void Kraken's origins, a number of facts are largely agreed upon by those who have come in contact with them. They are almost certainly some form of silicon-based creature, without blood, true bones, or fluids to keep them alive. Instead, it is believed that those few adepts to consider the beast, that the Void Kraken draws their animus from the very space debris they often resemble. Kraken appear to be solitary, asexual creatures that reproduce by dividing themselves, such in the same fashion as amoebas or single-celled organisms. A Kraken tears off a piece of itself and flings it at a world to create a hatchling, which then burrows into the surface of the planetoid, feeding off the rocks for decades or even centuries before emerging as a Kraken and fleeing itself into space to hunt. Another reason for choosing small asteroids or rock with little gravity to overcome for the young. There is speculation that Krakens might mate, and some process of fertilization is required for these hatchlings, but so far there has been no proof or conceivable way to tell a male Kraken from a female Kraken, if such things even exist. Void Krakens feed off minerals found in rocks, which explains their interest in ships. The hulls of most void-worthy vessels present a Kraken with a concentrated collection of metals, ores, and silicates for it to feed on, a tempting and tasty morsel for the beast. Small ships have the most to fear from the Kraken, as the beast's size and strength, especially when striking from ambush in an asteroid field or close to a world, can quickly overpower a ship and render it helpless to fight back. Even larger vessels are not immune, and Void Krakens attack things many times their own size, latching onto them like a limpet mine. Only shipborne weaponry is any defense against a Kraken, and only then if the vessel detects the Kraken early enough and manages to drive it off with broadsides or land strikes. Once a Kraken has entangled a ship, it is only disengaged when the ship has been consumed, if a ship is much larger than the Kraken, once it has taken a substantial bite from its hull. This process of consumption is as ponderous as the Kraken itself, and it is possible for a particularly brave crew to venture out into the hide of the beast while it is feeding and lay mines on it or try and cut it away. Such a task is fraught with danger, and the Kraken often reacts quickly to such parasites by throwing up small fangled tentacles to rack back and forth, scourging its stony flesh clean. Sometimes a Kraken declines to consume a ship straight away, or if it has fed enough on its hull, it may leave the wreck alone. In these cases, Krakens have been known to drag lifeless ships from one system to another, gathering the hulks around remote worlds or deep in space, possibly to feed on for later times. The second most terrifying threat to encounter in the void is a freebooter fleet. A freebooter is a piratical orc. They are bandits and sellswords who tend to form their own small, roving bands of pirates and corsairs. Their ships are massively armed and loaded with orcs eager for a fight, and an orc's natural love of violence makes him a terror to other spacefaring races. An attack by orc freebooters tends to be brutal and direct, with the orc ships rushing headlong towards the enemy, firing every gun they have before ramming and boarding their victims. The directness of an orc freebooter attack does not mean that the freebooter captain lacks cunning. Orcs often lurk in asteroid fields on the edge of systems where they cannot be seen by sensors of ships passing to and from the void. Ambushes on convoys of supply ships from this kind of hidden position are common, and even small fleets or warships are not unheard of. When encountered in the void, captains have been foolish enough to try and negotiate with these creatures, but any attempt to parley with a freebooter is a terrible mistake. The goal of most freebooter attacks is to take everything they can and leave no one alive. A Dark Eldar raiding party is one of the scariest forces that a ship can encounter. They are the forsaken and corrupt kindred of the Eldar. The Dark Eldar revel in piracy, enslavement, torture, and are sadistic in the extreme. Dark Eldar raids are planned in meticulous detail by the archons and succubi that lead them, and hidden routes through the webway are open in readiness for the assault. By the time a standard Imperial ship has spotted the raids, their only hope is a quick death instead of enslavement. Dark Eldar raiding forces never attack the foe directly, but use their speed, mobility, and the advantage of a surprise to attack swiftly and then withdraw, with the intent of slowly bleeding the foe dry. This tactic only causes more pain to the defenders, as the joy of surviving the first Dark Eldar wave is destroyed by the second wave, bringing more death and despair. Once the defenders are defeated, the torture and culling of the population into hideous enslavement will begin. The Dark Eldar relish in breaking the bodies of their captives, but prize even more highly the crushing of their spirit, for nothing is more gratifying to a Dark Eldar than securing utter dominion over one who has resisted them. Many captives, when too broken to provide further sport, will be rented and reshaped into undying trophies or even grotesque items of jewelry or furniture. More than one homunculized lair has sported a moaning, twitching throne fashioned from the remains of his favorite victim. Other unfortunates are rendered down into final fates to be imbibed as elixirs or narcotics by the monstrous beings who stole their lives. And those were my top 3 choices for the worst things that you can encounter in space. Now, of course, like I said, this is not including warp travel, because if you include warp travel, there is way crazier things that happen inside of the warp that we're going to talk about. Now, some honorable mentions. I was going to mention space hulks, but in reality, if you're traveling through space, I'm pretty sure the Imperium has a rule where, like, if you see a space hulk, don't touch it. Don't even go near it. The danger is too great. Same thing with gene stealer cults. In order for a gene stealer to get on a ship, they have to somehow be boarded, and I don't think that gene stealer really has, or a gene stealer cult, their main mission is to get to the planet and infest the planet, not so much the ship. And then the other honorable mention that I wanted to put in but decided not to is like plague marines and basically just plagues on ships themselves. We're going to talk more about that during the my top 3 warp horrible realities. So stay tuned for that. Comment down below if you guys can think of any other horrible things that can be encountered within the void. Again, not counting warp travel. Comment down below, and hopefully we can create a part 2 with like the top voted most dangerous things of space travel in 40K. Now, of course, if you like these videos, please share them with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. It really helps out the channel if you do that. The giveaway winner is going to be announced. Winners are going to be announced tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And again, we have a Patreon page. If you want to support us a little bit more, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos. If you can't, simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it really helps out the channel. So please do that, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.